Greetings everyone, and welcome to Flashback. Now, unfortunately, when I recorded this, my Voice Meter Banana mixer software for some reason had reset the sound gate, which meant that basically every second syllable disappeared. And so the audio I recorded of my voice while playing this game is gone. Some of it's there, some of it's not. It's just proving a little bit too difficult to find useful audio, so I'm recording after the fact. I'm chucking all 3 hours in 1000 speed. I'm not intending to talk all the way through this, but when I see certain things I want to comment on, I'll pop back in. So I'll be back when I've got something to say. Meanwhile, here's some lovely calming music from YouTube's public domain section. And I will catch you soon. Enjoy. So I have really fond memories of this game. I loved its predecessor, which was called Another World or Out of This World. I think it was called one thing in Australia and one thing in America. And I believe this is the same company that made this. It was their follow-up. Another World was also a rotoscoped, animated like this platformer, although it was a little bit more, I want to say story based, but it wasn't much of a story, but it was more action than a lot of platforming. This one was certainly much more platformy, but I really liked the world, and playing through this again, I was pleasantly nostalgic. The controls are a bit janky. I guess I played it originally on the Sega Mega Drive, otherwise known as the Genesis. The PC keyboard and mouse, actually there was no mouse, just keyboard controls were just weird. Shoot with shift. Jumping up to a ledge required you to run but not hold any keys down. Jumping, it took a while. It took a while to get used to, but eventually I got there. But this modern remaster, or if you could call it that, just added something extra where you could rewind time if you messed up. As you can see here, it saved my ass constantly. In the old game, you basically had to find save points, and they weren't very common, so you had to redo a lot of stuff. Still needed to do a bit of that later in the game, because the rewind thing didn't take me back far enough. So this game's obviously sci-fi, and it, let's just say, borrows from a lot of popular sci-fi like Total Recall and They Live and The Arrival. Just the ones off the top of my head, but as I was playing through, there were definitely a couple of other homages, shall we say. We won't completely say ripped off, but there's so little story. What story there is basically just the crib notes of various other games. Running Man was another one. When this game first came out and I played it and I got to this section coming up soon, which is where you basically got a bunch of terminals where you pick up jobs and you go do the job and you get paid. It's basically what we'd call micro jobs or freelancing, I guess, online these days. But back then I was like, this is the future of work. Not sitting at a desk somewhere, 8 hours, wondering what you're supposed to be doing. Give me a job, I'll go do it, give me the money. The world has not quite caught up with Flashback's future here, but I'm still hopeful that it will one day. Might have been partly due to the controls, but the combat in this game is pretty janky. If you take your gun out and roll, sometimes he puts his gun away, sometimes he stands up, sometimes he falls over. Having to shoot various enemies quite often required a natural ability to guess what they were going to do. For example, there were some enemies that would float around, and in between being able to shoot them, they would shoot you. You had a shield that you could put up, but that pretty much had to be exactly as they shot, which, given that it wasn't actually timed, it was kind of random when they shot, it was quite difficult. The enemies in this section were especially weird. They basically sort of teleported back and forth, but then they'd eventually teleport off to the next screen and then teleport back straight into where I'm standing. So essentially most of the time they just got shot by me, teleported back, got shot. I remember that playing the game years ago, and it just wasn't particularly smart AI. I'm not sure it quite counts as Cyberpunk, but it does have cool futuristic Earth City, futuristic Titan City, and then, well, some alien stuff a bit later on. While most of the puzzle stuff was pretty straightforward, there were a couple of clever puzzles where you just go, oh yeah, I'll just use my brain there. And then there were a couple where there was no way of knowing how to do it. A little bit earlier here there was a glass thing that we'd never run into before, you just had to know you had to shoot it. There was a ledge to jump up on which opened a door that had never happened before, it doesn't happen again. And then later in the alien section, there was one of the doors that we'd seen countless times in the game that required a key card or a switch or something like that. You just had to know you could shoot it. I stuck on that for ages until I just got frustrated and started just shooting everything, and that was the solution. Don't know how I was meant to know that door was shootable, but it was, and that was how I got through it. Bad design, actually. And here are the alien blob alien things. These were terrible. You could only shoot them when they were in their sort of human shape, which they eventually would do, but they would drop down, they would lunge at you, you couldn't defend yourself, sometimes that would knock you down, sometimes it wouldn't. Again, just another badly designed AI. There was pretty much just ran RNG whether they shot you or not. This is that door I was talking about. The one on the bottom on the screen. To the left, this one here, down there. You can shoot it, and that opens it. Only door in the game that does that. I was searching everywhere to try and figure out how to open that door. I went through the entire map 2 or 3 times. Got frustrated. Eventually, for some reason, I shut the door, and that opened it. So this speed through was the first 3 hours of the game. I think there's another hour or 2 which I did another day, which the audio did record properly. So that'll be the next video on the channel. Won't be a speed through exactly like this. But there we go. I shot that door down the bottom as you saw it. Alright, until next time, catch you around. Bye.